heavy,
bored.
Yeah, I mean, it's also one of those books where it's like, yeah, I mean, if you have seen it, like, you've basically read it.
Yeah, because a lot of the
You know?
adaptations...
There isn't a lot you are missing, if anything, really. And a lot of that, like, I mean, a lot of the adaptations, I think, really just maybe not line for line, but they lean heavily on the original dialogue.
Yeah, well, since this is only like a 90-page novella, like you could easily just put the entire thing into a movie without taking anything out. Like you could put the whole thing in like a 2-hour, hour-and-a-half movie.
You could put the whole thing in and still not quite enough to fill it.
And if you look at some of the famous specials, like one of the ones I always watched as a kid was the Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol special that would like be on TV all the time. And that one's like 45 minutes, and it really has the entire story in it, right? Like it's like you could fit the entire book into like a 45-minute TV special in the 50s or whatever, or 60s when that came out. But yeah, it's all there.
Well, it also makes sense as to why they turned it into a production that contains music.
A lot of musical productions of it. Almost every adaptation contained a lot of music to it. I'm going to get into that, listeners. I'm going to do something similar like what I did with Dracula for those that listen to our podcast regularly. I'm going to go through, as a bonus for subscribers only, a few Christmas Carol adaptations and review them compared to the novel and things like I did for Dracula. So if you're interested, subscribe. Patreon.com/heavyboard. And we'll talk about some movie adaptations on this just because we've seen a bunch, but I'm going to do the same bullshit that I did for all those that like it. I guess I'm the only one. I don't know. That we'll go back and watch the silent adaptations and then like ones in the 50s and then like the 70s, how they changed, how they shifted.
I tried
when the
to
music
watch
was
some
added. Yeah.
Dude, I thought about watching some of the earlier adaptations. I was like, I can't do it.
The most famous ones, I've been looking up a lot of them, and this one, Dracula had a fuckload of movies made out of it, and then like, spin-offs, sequels, spoofs, all that kind of shit on top of it.
But what's the most famous?
Yeah, this has 135 different movie adaptations, and that's including like, the cartoon specials like Mr. Magoo's. 135. So I'll be doing the same thing, listeners. I'll be narrowing it down to like 5-10 of the ones from maybe each decade, couple decades, maybe a little bit more in the New Hollywood era and stuff like that. But yeah, so I'd like to go through the decades and just see how this story evolved in the pop culture inferences and like how we got to where it's like the most famous Christmas story ever written.
Inner
resources, American resources.
being bored,
Some activities are intentional, right?
it shows such a lack of gratitude for life. Bored. I aspire to boredom, I should say.
Bored. Heavy.
I am heavy.
Bored.
Has you the night sweats and the day sweats, pal? Pal, I do.